Alright, so hello everyone, it's Jaden and welcome to this week's new video. In this week's video, I'm going to be making some little lovely clay pins out of polymer clay. Now, as you can see, I was just taking my rings off just to make sure I didn't get any clay stuck up in them because that would not be very nice. And then I was playing with that little clay cutter before showing you all some of the little sketches I had done in my designing notebook. Some were also designs for earrings that I'd like to make in the future, but for today I was just working on some clay pins. I also had made a list of pins that I wanted to make, and I pretty much did all of them with some extra ones thrown in here and there. But let's get started. Alright, so to get started, I of course had to get the clay out of its packaging, and then after I had just cut it open, I pulled all of the clay out, and as you can see, once I start squishing it, it was pretty hard, so I definitely had to work a lot in trying to soften it up, because it's of course super difficult to work with clay like that. You really want it nice and soft so you can get it rolled out so much easier so you can create your shapes. I eventually got it all softer, even though I'm still struggling a little bit just to roll it out, as you could see. But I was able to get it to a nice decent thickness, so I could use my little templates that I made to cut them out, which I just used some watercolor paper, sketched out what I wanted the designs to look like, and cut them. And here they all are all nice and finished and ready to get into the oven. Here they are just going in the oven, and they had to go into the oven for about 30 minutes, though I did end up baking them a little bit longer just because some of them still felt kind of soft. But once they were finished, I pulled them out, and then I ended up taking a picture of them to use as a reference so I could kind of draw the designs I wanted to do on top of that picture. And as you can see, I had imported that into my iPad onto Procreate just so I could very easily just draw the different designs that I wanted. And as you can see, for the two blank ones, those were just a repeat design, so obviously I didn't need to draw them again. But you can see there's a pickle, a watermelon slice, some cowboy hats, socks, a paint palette, a conversation heart. There's even a little strawberry shortcake ice cream, which I thought was really cute for some reason. But now it is time to get to the fun part. Though actually, before you get to painting and doing the really fun stuff, all of the little details, I had to gesso all of the pieces just to make sure the paint would just to adhere. Though honestly, I don't know how necessary of a step that is, but I did it anyways just to be sure. But here is some real-time footage of me painting this little star, which honestly, some of these designs, they took a while, especially depending on the color. The color needed several layers just because of how streaky it was, and it didn't get good coverage. I remember the red and the watermelon definitely being a color where I had to do several layers, which honestly isn't the most fun thing in the world, but I did it anyways. But after doing the star, I just went on and continued putting on the base layer of all of the colors. The star, and for example, that's really all it needed done, while some of the other ones had other details with different colors, like the paint palette, for example, or this piece of toast, where it needed both the cream and the tan colors in it. But I just went along doing all of that, just making sure all of the pieces were coated before I went back in and did the tiny little details, such as their eyes and their faces and stuff like that. And since these are really small, I like to use the tiniest dotting tool that I have to do their little eyes and mouths and stuff, just because I find it a lot easier to control as opposed to a brush. Because I know if I tried using a brush to do these tiny little details, they would end up looking like a hot mess. And if you also struggle maybe with getting good control and doing tiny details with a brush, highly recommend getting a really tiny dotting tool. The dotting tools are also great for just doing eyes like this, where it's just two little dots, that's all you have to do. It's super easy, and it just makes my life so much easier as well, so I don't have to struggle. But this is pretty much what I did with all of the other clay pins. I used the dotting tool to do their tiny faces and maybe some of the other little details. For example, you'll see that I used the dotting tool to do these little speckles on this little lemon, and then I just went along, like I said, and did the faces on all of the other clay pins. I also use the dotting tool to do like other little details like the bananas on the toast, to like fill in other little small pieces like the bitten parts so you can see the inside of the strawberry shortcake ice cream. And I just went along and just did all of those different little things. Doing the details was probably the most fun part of making these pins, just because I really enjoy doing stuff like that. I think it is a lot of fun. Most of the pins I was pretty happy with how they came out in the end, though there's some I don't really like. One of the cowboy hats I'm not the biggest fan of, just because the design looked cute like when I drew it out, but I don't think once I executed it, it wasn't like my favorite thing in the entire world. But I really did like the hot pink cowboy hat that has the matching boots with like little stars and stuff on it, and definitely a favorite of mine. Also enjoyed the little strawberry shortcake ice cream, just because, like I said, I thought it was super cute for some reason. I don't even like those kind of ice creams, but I don't know, like all of like the little dots and stuff and like the little bite taken out of it and stuff. I don't know, just like all of the tiny little details. But once they were all nice and painted, here they are, it was time to glaze them. Now I'm using this gloss varnish that I also used when I made those little pocket pals, and I just went along and coated all of them in that varnish before using some E6000 to add the pin backs on. And does anybody else have this weird thing where like glue keeps coming out even though you only squeeze it once? I don't know, I've had that happen with E6000 a lot. But anyways, here are all of the final pins. I had to like kind of zoom in to show all of them. I couldn't get them all at once, but I made a lot of little friends. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching this short video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Thank you, and bye-bye!